So here we are back with the Apple Vision Pro, and you guessed it, the Meta Quest 3. And in this video, we're gonna compare the two. I mean, one is $500, the other one is at $3,500. So it will be like comparing a Ferrari with a Prius, isn't it? Well, not quite. Even if the price is so different, these headsets share many similarities, and yet a very different marketing pitch. Many say that the Quest 3 can do 90% of what the Vision Pro does and more, but is that really true? Well, it's time to dig deeper into it and compare what makes these two behemoths of spatial VR computing so special. If you should really go for the expensive guy when there is supposedly a much cheaper version of it out there. Well, let's discover it together in this video. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get into it. But first of all, this video is sponsored by Temu, the online shopping app where you can find pretty much anything from tech, toys, fashion, home stuff, and more at low, crazy prices. Because Temu connects you directly with the seller, so you can save up to 90% of their retail prices. So I went through some shopping, as you can see, to try things out. This is the silicone grip cover for the Meta Quest 3 controllers, a must-have accessory to enhance your immersion in games, and also protect the controller. Guess what? It was 79 cents on Temu. Yeah. 79 cents. I got them in two different colors, by the way, and I also got a different one for the Meta Quest Pro controllers. Nice. An anti-sweat silicone face cover for those sweaty pistol whip or Beat Saber sections. And then I got some swing doll's eyes for my headsets, because why not? That was $135. But of course, it's not just VR stuff. I got an awesome wireless Android Auto CarPlay adapter for my Volvo Daddy car that works like a charm, $38.84. And well, tons of toys for Zaki. This super cool burger, spaceship, little cars, fish. This one that of course I solved already. A little dinosaur. Super cool! Oh, and a nice yellow chicken for Barolo. Get it, buddy! So if you want some crazy priced accessories, download the Temu app on the link in the description below to get a $100 coupon bundle for free, or search the code DKN5526 in the Temu search bar to claim it. It's addictive, be advised. So again, thanks Temu for sponsoring this video. Now, this is not the first time that we compare headsets, visors, spatial computers. And this one, to be a reminder, we're gonna compare them on every single level, as objective as possible. I wanna give you all the tools to actually take your own decision. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your money, not mine, so this means that there's no console or spatial wars. And that's why I decided to divide this video in different categories, so we're gonna give a point to one or the other. If one is better than the other, that's something or not. I'm gonna leave the points overlaid here the entire time so we can keep track of them, and at the end of the video, hopefully, we're gonna have a winner. Of course, every section may have a different value for you, so feel free to make your own results and please share them in the comments below so we can talk about it. But hey, with all that said, let's begin. Let's start with comfort. And well, let's be honest here, both of these are pretty bad. Great way to start. They're both pretty front heavy, as all the hardware, or almost all the hardware, will reside on the front, and they both come out of the box with a pretty average strap. Sure, the Apple one looks very cool and soft. Comfy though? Not quite. The reality though is that the Vision Pro really feels like a first generation. It's very rigid, it's not very adaptable for different faces, and as you can tell, they actually prioritize the design instead of the wearing. Quest 3 on the other hand has more swivel points to adapt to different face shapes, and it can also be used with glasses, adjusting the distance from your eyes. And it has a top strap that will mess a bit your hair, but for sure will make your comfort so much better, distributing the weight more evenly. Yes, the AVP comes in the box also with a second strap, but that's frankly the least Apple thing I've ever seen in my life. It has hard pressure points and it feels just cheap. Also, we can't avoid talking about the elephant in the room, the battery that will sit in your pocket the entire time with a cable running through your back or through the front, like now. So yeah, nothing to cheer about, but the first point goes to the Meta Quest 3. It's more flexible, it's not as heavy, will accommodate more people, and doesn't have a battery with it because it's all included. Well, there's not much to say here. The AVP is heavier for a reason, and that's because of build quality. Starting with the unboxing experience, you can tell that we're talking about the Ferrari of VR headsets. I'm sorry, I called it VR headset again. The aluminum constructions feel solid and premium, and the almost glass front is actually plastic with some glass inside. With the lenticular screen under it, looks amazing. Everything here is extra solid. If there's something you want for something that you have to wear on your face the entire time, I'm not sure, but sure something. It is miles better than the white chunk of plastic of the Meta Quest 3. I mean, it's built well, yes, it doesn't creak or make any weird sounds. But yeah, I mean, look at this thing. It looks like a tank. The point goes to the Vision Pro. And now let's talk about design. I think the design direction is wrong in both of these headsets because they prioritize being cheaper on a side and being like cooler on the other. When being a wearable, it should be about comfort. But talking about the design as an art piece, well, it's pretty clear that this thing looks absolutely incredible. It feels like a piece of art instead of a headset. Of course, the point goes to the AVP. But now let's get to the heat of it. Let's talk about displays. Here we have two different technologies with two widely different results. The Quest 3 uses two LCD displays with the resolution of 2064 by 2208 per eye, running up to 120 Hz with a PPD pixels per degree of the 18. That's the best measure of pixel density, what you want and something that you wear that close to your face. The Vision Pro instead uses two micro OLED displays with a whopping calculated resolution of 3660 by 3200 pixels per eye, running up to 100 Hz with 34 ppd, almost double the Quest 3. Colors here are very good, covering 96% of the color gamut. They are HDR capable, contrast is amazing thanks to the OLED technology, and you can't really discern any pixel with your human eyes. This is clearly the killer feature of this headset. Persistence is not the lowest though, so when moving fast you will see some ghosting. I can stress it enough, these are the best screen I've ever seen in a VR headset. I hope more are gonna go in this direction. It's not that the Quest 3 has a bad screen, it's completely enjoyable, but here we're still talking about LCDs with screen door effect and stuff like that. It just feels like 2 generations behind. So yeah, of course, the point goes the Vision Pro. But now let's talk about lenses. They're very important because with those we're gonna be able to see, well, the screens. And to be honest, I wish that the Vision Pro had the Quest 3 lenses on it. Over here, the sweet spot is much bigger and pretty much everywhere you look at is gonna be crystal clear with just a very, very little vignetting effect at the edges of the screens because of the pancake lenses. These are dual stack lenses, by the way, while the Vision Pro has 3 stacked lenses, always pancake. The fact that here the lenses are not that forgiving, and at the edges of the screen you get some chromatic aberration, some dimming, and it's not that clear. We're really talking about smaller parts, by the way, but it's perceivable. Also because of a 3-stack design and the fact that we have much higher contrast because of the micro OLED displays, glaring is more an issue here than on the Quest 3. So yeah, the point for the lenses goes to the Quest 3, of course, and another thing that the lenses create is the FOV, field of view. Not much to say here, the Vision Pro feels a bit constrained. It really feels like you're wearing a scuba diving mask. It's not the best for immersive experiences. Instead, on the Quest 3, well, everything feels much wider. I think that the biggest difference is actually on the vertical FOV, how much you can look up and down, where it's very natural with the Quest 3. With the Vision Pro, well, you can clearly feel like you're in front of 2 screens. Talking about mere numbers, by the way, I calculated about 100 horizontal and 90 vertical for the Vision Pro. This with the thinnest face interface and face cushion, the 21W. Instead of the Quest 3, I got 110 horizontal pretty much and 105 vertical. So yeah, bigger is better. Point for the Quest 3. Oh my, now let's talk about the pass-through. Using the cameras on the headset to see the outside world. When I went from the Quest 2 to the Quest 3, I was like, oh wow, I can finally read in here. I'm not blind anymore. But well, after using the AVP, I felt like I was blind again. Resolution here is vastly superior, but it's not perfect either. I don't know how people are calling it like real life. It's not. It's clearly a camera. In lower light condition, it gets grainy and latency ramps up from the lower shutter speed. And colors are pretty dull, even duller than on the Quest 3. It feels like editing log or something like that. Dynamic range though is very good, but it feels overall a bit dark, devoid of any life. But yeah, resolution is high enough to look at your phone with very little distortion, if not any, while the Quest 3 feels very wobbly. It's also funny because I wish I could show you the camera feed on the Vision Pro in low light when it's bad, but it turns out Apple doesn't even let you record in low light condition, as I guess they're not good enough for them. Well, at least the Quest 3 owns it. About the wobbles though, on the Quest 3, there's actually a reason, because, you know, the cameras on the Vision Pro are here at the bottom. Never grab it from there. So your actual visual will not really line up with the reality. And also they're not really correcting the geometry of it. So when you're very close to something, the world will actually shift around and will be very distracting and actually make you sick a bit. So if you work at the desk and you put like a virtual screen over here, it's not gonna be a nice thing to do. I don't know how people are not really talking about it, because working on it with the desk is absolutely awful. Unless you put your screens like feet away, and so yeah, they're gonna become stable. This is a little video, by the way, to show you how much it swivels around. I hope you're understanding what I mean, because on the Quest 3 this doesn't happen with things that are close by, because the Quest 3 used the black and white camera feed for actually understanding the geometry in front of you, and use the color camera pass-through to actually add the colors to the geometry that it created before with the other thing. It's a bit more complicated, and that's why it creates a lot of wobble in the images, because it tries to like update real time, but the resolution is not high enough to actually understand the geometry perfectly. The result of that, when you're close to something, everything looks completely fine. When you start to move things around, you get the wobbles, but otherwise, if you're working on it, it feels more comfortable than on the Vision Pro. So yeah, pick your poison, I guess. Going back though, latency here is also a big factor, talking about photon to photon, so how long the light actually takes to go from the source through the cameras, being processed in the processor, go through the screen, and then through the lenses, and finally hit your eyes. The AVP is amazing, as it managed to do it in around 12 milliseconds, while the Quest 3 takes around 38 milliseconds, quite higher. And because we're talking about numbers, the Quest 3 uses 4 megapixel cameras, while the Vision Pro 6.5 megapixel cameras. So yeah, everything feels a bit more natural here. When you take out the Quest 3, you feel like you're back in reality. When you take off the Vision Pro, you feel that some of your reality went missing. So yeah, of course, point to the Vision Pro. You know what these cameras are used for as well? Tracking. How well these headsets are gonna understand their position in space when you move around. And I have to say that they're both pretty good, completely accurate, and they're not gonna make you sick because they're gonna lose tracking of anything like that. The Vision Pro has the perk of the travel mode, but that's still a bit shaky and doesn't work completely well, so we'll not give a point to it because of that. I mean, you can disable the 60 UF tracking on the Quest 3 and be fine on the plane as well, so yeah, this is even. Interaction. Well, usually this point will be about controllers, but while the Quest 3 actually can use controllers, the Vision Pro doesn't have any, because it's gonna use your hands and your eyes to interact, where you actually pinch to click and select while your eyes work like a cursor. The result, you can interact only with what you're looking at the specific time. And on top of that, you can actually touch the panels as well, like it's a touch screen, because you're gonna have hand tracking all the time. The accuracy of the hand tracking here is pretty good. Everything feels very responsive. The only problem is that in terms of latency, weirdly enough, is actually much slower than the Quest 3. Back to the eye tracking interaction though, this is for sure groundbreaking, innovating, and at the same time, kind of weird. It doesn't work really well all the time with small items, and in reality, it can bring some frustrations. For example, moving the timeline instead of an entire window while watching the movie. And with the Quest 3, the primary weight of input will be those two things that comes in the box with it. You guessed it right, the controllers, using them like a laser pointers to actually interact with the menus far or even touching it. In this case, we also get nice vibration when getting in contact with the panels. Or you can ditch them completely and use the hand tracking. Again, with touching the panels, or using your hands as laser pointers to interact with the menus. In this case though, it's not as smooth as the AVP, weirdly enough, even if the latency is supposed to be less. On top of that, with both of them, you can actually connect the keyboard to actually type more easily, because yeah, the typing experience of both of these headsets is not the best. If you want to do some work, well, you better get a keyboard. You can also connect the touchpad on both, and just on a Quest 3, a mouse. For some reason, is not available on the Vision Pro yet. So I would say that the Quest 3 takes the point over here because it has a wider range of possibilities, even if the way that AVP handles it is very innovative for sure. And I'm more than sure that it's going to be implemented in a future version of the Quest as well. The AVP really needs to add support for some form of controllers to actually open the floodgates of all those applications that need very fine accuracy, and also, you know, games. But now let's talk about audio. They both have integrated audio speakers, both spatial audio supported, so the ability to feel like the content is coming from places around you, but on the AVP is much better implemented and realized. And I have to say that quality-wise though, audio is better on the AVP than on the Quest 3. This is how the microphone sounds on the Apple Vision Pro. Also, this is the sound of the microphone on the Meta Quest 3. Point over there. And now let's talk about battery. So this could be the longest section on this video on how the external battery on the AVP is actually a necessary evil for what they need and want to achieve with it, because of the power draw needed, the possibility to have a smaller cable, and at the same time take some weight out of your head. But there's spare details and technicality, because at the end of the day, in a normal use, it's just a nightmare. A needed, beautiful, and wanted nightmare, but still a nightmare. Well, personally, I don't hate the cable itself because I'm so used to using it with all my PC VR headsets. It's without a doubt a worse experience than an integrated battery like on the Quest 3. You never forget that you have a battery attached and doesn't give you the same freedom of a completely wireless headset. Battery life is similar, to be honest. It really depends what you're using these devices for. So yeah, the point goes to the Quest 3. Next section, processor. Well, comparing these two right now is really like comparing a Prius with a Ferrari. These are the results of the benchmarks, and while the benchmarks don't really tell the entire picture, well, here they kind of do. The AVP is able to render things at extra high resolution, keeping the visual intact with the panel. Also with the help of eye tracking to have full VR rendering, so higher resolution where you're actually looking at. But what you actually see is always extra crisp. Things that unfortunately the Quest 3 rarely can do. This uses also two different processors, the M2 for, you know, computing, and the R1 processor for all the tracking and camera feed. So yeah, this thing is a beast. On the Quest 3 instead we have the mobile processor, the XR2 Gen 2. This for sure is the most powerful mobile processor right now for VR headsets. But for example, the resolution in games as always has to be dropped because, you know, it can sustain even the full resolution of the panel to keep a decent frame rate. But hey, talking about the processor, the Vision Pro is 4 times as fast. So yeah, the point goes over there. And now let's talk about software. Here's where we see the biggest difference, and they're very difficult to compare because we're talking about something that grew a lot and keeps growing versus something that just started their journey with the VR software magic. The Quest 3 will run on a modified version of Android, while the Vision Pro will run on Vision OS. This is a modified version of the iPad OS. So guess what? One feels like Android, one feels like iOS. Pick your poison. But the particular thing here that these have two completely different directions. While the Quest 3 kind of resembles more console with the software that is needed to just bring you to different experiences, on the Vision Pro the OS is like the central part of the experience where you're gonna pass most of the time. And to be honest, they're both very good on what they're supposed to do. I have to say that even if it's newer, the AVP feels more curated with a very big attention to details like, you know, the color of the pass-through changing in base of the experience, hand occlusion to actually see your hands all the time, while you navigate there. Personas, that are the uncanny valley stuff that you're gonna use if you want to call somebody in a conference or anything like that. The windows that you open around having shadows, or even spatial videos that at the end of the day are just 3D videos or photos, but the framing is done in a very particular way where it feels like kind of a window to a different reality. The funny thing about it is that the Quest 3 already supports spatial videos as well, so you can watch them if you actually shoot them on your iPhones. So yeah, it's just a funny thing. Which one is better? Well, it really depends on your target. I think that both have a very particular direction, and I think both should actually learn from the other to grow in a, a better way. So this is a bonus for you. For me, I'll give it a tie. What's not a tie for sure, it's games. Because yeah, you can tell that the Vision Pro wasn't built for gaming to start with. So far, there are not many games available for the Apple headset. They're not even very immersive, because to play you have to use your eyes and feels very detached from reality. You never feel immersed. Graphics in these easy games is very cool. They're very, very crisp, but it's limited and for sure is not the target over here. On the Quest 3 instead, we have a huge library of games that you can play, also big titles like Assassin's Creed, Asgard's Wrath, and then there's all the modding community like Wolfenstein, Jedi Knight Academy, you can play pretty much everything on this thing, and there's so much fun to be had. It's not that the AVP is not capable of playing games, it could play them probably even better than the Quest 3 thanks to the processor, but not having controllers stops things a bit. So yeah, no doubt here, if it's for gaming, the Quest 3 is your guy. Point there. If it's not gaming though, it's productivity, so let's talk about it. This will be controversial, but to be honest, I think that the Vision Pro is overrated when it comes to productivity. For sure, it's more of a central part of it compared to the Quest 3, but as productivity goes, it's as productive as an iPad can be. And personally, I could never work with an iPad alone, aside from checking emails, and well, the same thing could be said here. The amazing screen makes it for sure a perfect candidate to substitute a monitor to work with a Mac, but on its own, it's an amazing media device with some multitasking perks. It will be different if it had an USB to actually connect accessories, external memories, but no. The only way to use it for serious work is to use a Mac with it. And it's kind of weird because we have an M2 processor in here, but yet we use it as an iPad. Talking about the Quest 3, well, it's even less than that. 2D apps are sporadic and multitasking, while still there, it's a bit more limited. You can check emails with it, yeah, you can even use Word or Excel, but you can tell that it's not the central vision, no pun intended, on this headset. Connecting it to a PC, well, it's totally another beast, but we're talking about these guys on their own here, so productivity point goes to the Vision Pro for sure, but again, consider me disappointed. But now let's talk about the features that one has and the other one completely lack of. And the first one is eye tracking. That is actually a central part of this headset because, as we said, it's used for interaction and at the same time for foveator rendering, so be able to utilize as much as possible the processor that we have here. The weird thing is that it was present on the Quest Pro, the predecessor of the Quest 3, and then just got removed to actually save money on the production. And I really hope that it's gonna come back in the future because it's a vital part of the experience, not just for social, because you can have things like personas moving the eyes in the right way, but also so to unlock more potential and performances on the screens that have very high resolution. So yeah, the point goes, of course, to the Vision Pro. And let's talk about the second part that is missing, that is eyesight. Now, I don't know if it's a problem with my Vision Pro, but that doesn't appear all the time. So you can't really see my eyes for sure right now, and not even the screen, but in the front, there is a screen. And that is gonna show a rendering of your eyes moving in the right way, so people will be aware of the fact that you're looking at them. This was a big surprise for me. While I thought it would be just a weird gimmick, it actually turned out to be one of my favorite features. The execution is a bit but the idea is sometimes the delivery is for sure appreciated. You see, usually with a VR headset, you just don't isolate yourself from the real world, but to an external person, you actually feel absent. Reason why your wife might complain if you're using it while eating, and while with this, she might still complain if you are a geek, you will feel more connected with that person. And that's the power of making eye contact. Again, you have to be a geek though, because These lenticular displays look like crap. They're very dim and low resolution, but having that 3D effect makes the headset feel more like an extension of your face instead of just a blob that you have to take off to talk with people. Please still take it off though. Real eyesight is so much better. But yeah, I really like the direction over here. Is it worth the wait? Probably not. And for me, it's not even worth the fact that they had to move the cameras of the pass-through lower than where your eyes actually are, to have the weird distortion that we saw before. But it's a very nice perk that I would love to see on different headsets in the future. So yeah, the point goes to the VP. Finally, we're at the last point. Price. Well, this is very easy. One is gonna start at $500. And the other one, as we said at the beginning, will start at $3,500. So yeah, it's more, a lot more. So yeah, just doing some math, you can actually buy 7 Quest 3 for the price of a single Vision Pro. So that means that your entire family and friends, if you have as many as me, can actually have a Quest 3. I'm kidding, I have so many friends. Is it worth the 7 multiplier in price? Well, probably not, but this is the situation. I would love to give 7 points to the Quest 3, but we're objective here, so 1 point to the Quest 3 and 0 to the AVP. And with this last point, that means that we have a winner, and drum roll, that's the AVP. Alright! But yeah, here we have it. I was actually surprised to see how many points I had to give to the Quest 3 because, you know, with this difference in price, you feel like, you know, you have the best thing, almost perfection. From the headset, also because we're talking about Apple and usually, you know, they do very good things, but in this case, they're very close indeed. And with the price difference that big, you know, it's very particular. I actually agree that the Quest 3 can do more things than the AVP. There is no doubt about it. Although the Vision Pro has the classic Apple way of doing fewer things, but better with a bigger attention to details, building from the bottom up. So I'm really excited to see what this is gonna be in the future. Also because capabilities are completely there. Look, on the other side, I wish every single headset was like the Vision Pro. Maybe it's the screen, maybe it's the power of the processor, but it really feels like my wet dream of virtual reality headsets became reality. On the complete package though, sometime I'm gonna be honest, well, I don't really know what to do with it. It's just sitting there and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. Do I need the iPad right now? You know, it's not comfortable enough to use as a screen replacement. Some crazy people might do it, but it's not that comfy. And it's not connectable enough to actually use it for serious work, at least the work I'm doing. If you understood, not having a data port really kills it for me. Overall though, again, is the Vision Pro worth 7 times the Quest 3? Absolutely not. It would have 7 times the points, and that's why we do this kind of comparison, to actually give you some tools and an informed position of the situation of these two platforms. And while on value the Quest 3 is for sure a killer, is that a better product like Zuckerberg said? Well, I don't think so. The Vision Pro remains a high-end dreamy headset for me. Not completely usable, but still dreamy. The cool thing though that both these platforms will grow like exponentially, particularly the Vision Pro because it has a lot of raw power to actually utilize everything, and you know, games might arrive there without any problem. If it's not built for gaming, doesn't mean that games cannot arrive there. At the same time, on the Quest 3, productivity is completely possible because we already can do much stuff and some multitasking with it. It's not as streamlined like the Vision Pro that was built for it, but it's something that you can do. So I would like to conclude this comparison just saying that if you get the Quest 3 instead of the Vision Pro, for now you're not really missing out. Don't feel bad about it. But if you have the money, you want to try the best screen in town, well, the Vision Pro is there. But bear in mind that you might still want to pick also a Quest 3. I mean, that's the thing, one doesn't substitute the other. They can clearly coexist, in the same way that an iPad and a Nintendo Switch do it. Anyway guys, let me know what you think about it in the comment below. Did your points actually differ from mine? Do you have a different idea on comparing these headsets? Also, are you team Apple or are you team Meta? Let me know in the comments below. This was a very long one, so as always guys, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like, please dislike. Subscribe to the channel for more of VR tech. If you really love the channel, join button on there. Later on further, also the Patreon. Thanks to all the Patreons for joining the channel, of course. I see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Ciao!